Very cool. Welcome, gym owners. Steve from Gym Hub. One of the topics that seems to be really, popular at the moment, particularly with the Corona gym lockouts, is the use of Facebook Live, but also Zoom for delivering webinars and group training or one-on-one training. So today I want to give you 10 tips. I'm by no means an expert when it comes to Zoom. I've used it for about 3 years. I really enjoy the product and I like the product. In no way connected to Zoom, but I think it's a good one, and I encourage you to learn more about it so that you can deliver the best product possible. Let's get into it. So why might you use it? I think it's really useful for virtual training because you can actually play some music in the background and don't have any sort of music licensing issues that might be associated with, Facebook Live. It's also really good for webinars or meetings. So if during Corona lockout, you just want to get together with your staff once a week and have a meeting, I think it's really good for using that purpose. I think webinars is sometimes like a big broad term, and it sounds a little bit overwhelming perhaps, but a webinar is essentially just a get together. So it's easy for you if you're trying to really keep your community together. There's no reason why you couldn't organize a Monday 10 a.m. coffee catch up where you just basically put it out there to your members. Everyone gets a cup of coffee at home and they can just log in, and you have the ability just to say good day to everyone and say hello. There's no reason why you can't do Friday night drinks at 7 p.m. and everyone comes with a glass of wine. So when I say webinars, it's essentially just getting a group of people together. You could do trivia, you do catch-ups. It's totally up to you, but they're sort of the big ones that we're going to cover today. So my first tip for you is around the setup when it comes to Zoom. One thing that I've done is actually attach a small Logitech camera to my monitor. And what that enables me to do is ensure that the camera is actually looking at me. My laptop's actually down below the monitor. And if I was sort of filming from that, you would be kind of looking up my nose. So it is definitely possible to film from a laptop, but you will get a better quality picture if you actually get a USB connecting video or camera, sorry. So the model, I just typed it into text for you. The model I use isn't by any means the best. It's less than $100. You can buy them online. It'll be delivered in the next 3 days. The one I'm using is called a Logitech HP 1080, if that's useful for you. But I actually do that because I like to actually keep it at that height. So I'm typing down here, and I like to, someone to sort of look me in the eyes when I'm talking to them. I think it's important to have a bit of a clean background. So I've got like little doors and stuff behind me. I like to sort of close them off and make sure that it's, my meeting's not going to get interrupted. I don't want to leave the door open that enables someone to sort of walk behind me on screen. I don't want any sort of staff in the background making noise or anything like that. So you, make sure to get someone that's really quiet. Make sure to get somewhere where you can actually have a clean background. In the past, I've seen people that have sort of logged in and they've got their shirt off because they've just come back from the beach. Or I've seen people that have logged in and they've got, different like buckets and mops and stuff in the background. So just make sure that before you actually go live, that you have actually checked what's behind you. Make sure that you're actually set up for sound and for video, so it looks professional. The last one is, I guess, you're likely to actually record these sessions, so it makes sense to have a branded T-shirt on if you're actually doing this from your gym. Make sure the hair's done and your phone's off. It is actually quite disrupting if you're getting like email updates or if you're getting like a phone call or something during it. So these are the basics in terms of setup, but I feel like in watching some of the videos that have been going out recently, that a couple of those basics might be useful. Number two, a new meeting or a scheduled meeting. So the orange button when you log into Zoom enables you just to do an impromptu meeting. So I might have a message from a staff member and they say, hey, I've been trying to just record a quick video to put on Instagram, and I'm not really getting it right. And you think, you know what, this is a little bit hard to type onto a phone or something like that. So why don't I just quickly grab a meeting with this person rather than rather than, going back and forth 10 times via Messenger or via SMS. So all you have to do, if you just want to do one impromptu, just hit the orange button there that says new meeting. And when you get inside, you can invite someone to it. So you can invite them via their email or directly via Zoom if they have an account on it. The alternative is to have a scheduled meeting. So you might have a time like at 10 a.m. every single Tuesday, I meet with my staff. So that's actually a meeting that's been pre-scheduled. So the staff have been invited to it. When you go in and actually hit schedule, it says, what date would you like to do it? What time of the day would you like to do it? And who would you like to invite? So I can get the emails of all my 10 staff and invite them to it. So it goes into their calendar beforehand, gives them like a little email reminder prior to the meeting so they can find that link. The little thing that I find confusing with scheduled meetings is it sends them like the link, but also says, hey, if you want to log in over your phone, you can do it like this way. And people have the ability to just call in. I actually find that really confusing. And I find that the less amount of, or the less amount of text that you have in the instructions that you send out to people you're inviting in the meeting, the better. So what I mean by that is when you're actually setting up the scheduled meeting and you're typing it in, if it's me, I actually delete how to log in over their phone just for audio. And because I know that they can just log in using the link on their phone if they want to do that anyway. So 2 options: impromptu meeting, just go through the orange one there. The scheduled meeting enables you to plan something in advance and send out like an invite to everyone. Another thing that you might consider doing is a regular meeting. So we're currently doing a live workout 7 a.m. every day. And instead of creating a new meeting link every day and sort of being forced to send that out to our virtual training members every single day, instead we've actually set up a meeting to go through for the next sort of 90 days so they can continue to use the same link. The way you do that is when you go into setting up a scheduled meeting, you're looking for the button there that says reoccurring meeting, and you can choose how many times you want it to repeat, or what the, whether it's daily or whether it's weekly or something like that. So just to repeat, we've set up the meeting once for our daily live workouts. Everyone can use the same link every single day to come and join us because we've set it up as a reoccurring meeting. If you're the host of the meeting, all you have to do is to go into your meetings list, and instead of and just go to the very bottom, all the reoccurring meetings are at the bottom of your list when you're looking for it. Number 4, silence is weird at first. So I actually came from a lecturing background. When I finished school, I went and did PE teaching. I then went into Cert 4, and I was personal training people. I was playing footy at Cronulla, but I also went into face-to-face lecturing. So I used to lecture PE teachers. I used to lecture sports business. And I always found that if you're in front of an audience where it was interactive, it was much easier because you could get them sort of asking questions. There's no silence in the room. And I actually found when I first went to Zoom, the silence was kind of off-putting. So as I'm sort of delivering this now, there's obviously no feedback from you guys. So I just want to encourage you that it's really normal to feel a little bit awkward when you first start using Zoom. If it's kind of awkward at first. Or if it's kind of silent at first, but you will get used to it.
Try that one.
We'll just keep the microphones off for me, Bets, as you come in.
Sorry.
Sorry. All right, let me share a couple of basics when it comes to Zoom. So the first one just regards to audio. So on the left-hand side there, if someone logs in, it's really important for you to know how to turn off your audio. So let's say you log into a meeting, you want to test everything before the actual meeting starts, and then you just want to stay live on it. You might like to go to the bathroom, get a drink of water or something. It's important that you actually turn off your microphone and turn off the camera if you're sort of busy doing something during setup. So the audio is the little microphone on the left-hand side. The video, if you're looking to turn that off and on, is the button next to it. So the controls, when you look on your screen, are in the bottom left-hand corner. And the video enables you to sort of go off and on. I sometimes turn off the video if I've got a weak internet connection because it actually reduces the amount of bandwidth required, and therefore the sound comes through better. So just keep a bit of an eye on that if there is a little bit of a weak internet at the time. Other stuff that's useful to know with video is that you can actually adjust your video settings. You might choose to, for example, send the video through a portable, like a USB video like I'm doing today through my Logitech, which is connected to my, screen, as opposed to actually going through the video on the laptop. So you can actually adjust that. The same with your audio. So you may choose to actually go through the audio from the camera. So again, audio for me today is coming through the Logitech camera that's attached to my screen. However, you can still just go through a laptop, or you can go through another source. So there's settings for that. It's not only about turning it off and on, but you can actually adjust, and you can go through the menu and choose where you would like your audio to come from, where you'd like the sound to come from. The chat option down on the right-hand side, chat's really useful if you want to actually prompt people to get involved without necessarily getting all the microphones on. So let's say you log in, you've got 30 people that are coming to your virtual training today. If you ask everyone to put their microphones on and there's background noise and there's phones ringing and stuff, it's actually quite difficult. So one of the best things you can do is actually prompt people to participate and increase their engagement by asking questions via chat. So you might ask the question verbally whilst you're on the camera, but you might also type it into chat and then prompt everyone to actually give you a response. So you might say, hey guys, tell me, what are your plans for Easter Friday? Type it in the chat below. And what you're doing is not only checking that they're actually ready to go and that they're sort of, engaged in the meeting, but you can actually ensure that the sound doesn't sort of get out of control. It doesn't become a problem for you. The last one in terms of basics, this comes to record. I'm recording today's session, and recording like a workout or a webinar can be really useful if someone logs in late. They want to go back and see the bit they've missed, but it's also really good to pass on to staff or anyone that's perhaps just wants to revisit it. So we've created a workout library, which is a recording of any of our workouts. After we record it in post-production, we put like a little timer on there so it sort of matches up with the app that the trainer's using when presenting it live, like a little countdown timer, and it measures the rest and stuff as well. But you can also put up on screen what the name of the workout is or the name of the exercise and stuff is, and you do that because you've recorded it at the time. Something else you might consider, number 6 in terms of my tips, is mute the microphones. So what I find is with our live group training, virtual training webinars, 7 a.m. every single day, rather than letting people log in like you guys have done today, where possibly they log in and their microphones are on and it is a little bit noisy, you can actually set it up in a way where by default the microphones are off. So by default, everyone comes in and it's quiet, and you can sort of get going with your session knowing that the microphones won't come on unless they intentionally put it on. The way you set this up is you'll go down to mute participants upon entry, and that's basically for an ongoing meeting. So we spoke about before that you can set up a scheduled meeting that's on like 7 a.m. every single day. The instructions for doing that are on screen. Block the audio by default. I think that's an important one. It's not one that I did today because I do want to make it more engaging. But if you're doing like a live virtual training, for example, you may prefer to just kind of log in, do the workout, and then actually select, like manually turn everyone's microphone on at the end and say g'day to everyone. A fun way to, I guess, just put a bit of novelty or a bit of variety into your delivery is to add different backgrounds. When it comes to backgrounds, there's a process to sort of go about it. So you're basically going in where it says start video. You have the option of going to a couple of their default backgrounds. So you can see that one there with the Golden Gate Bridge. There's one there that looks like you're in a little forest or something. There's also one that looks like it's kind of on the moon. These backgrounds work best if you have a green screen. And look, you don't have to have it. As an example, so I don't have a green screen. I'm going to go on and change to like a virtual background for myself at the moment. Now, because I don't have a green screen, the view for myself is a little bit, you can see that I'm sort of forming part of the background as opposed to actually, coming out really clear. What's kind of cool, but in my opinion, it's not necessarily the three that they provide free, but you can actually choose the option which enables you to add a virtual background. So you can add one like the background of your gym, which is this photo, and I can look like I'm actually presenting from my gym, or I can put an image of the beach at Coleroy, and I can say, hey guys, logging in from Coleroy Beach today. Again, it just adds a little bit of fun. So that's virtual backgrounds. Where do you access that? You go into video, and where the options are to kind of turn on and off your camera. You also have the option of changing your virtual background if you want. I'll get out of the image of my gym, go back to the office where I'm sitting. All right. So video settings. This is a pretty cool one. So you have the option of also touching up your appearance. So let me give you an example of what this kind of looks like. So when you go into video settings, there's an option there that says touch up your appearance. So if I come in really close, you can see every wrinkle and freckle and whatever on my face, all the gray hair and my beard growing. It looks pretty ridiculous. But if there's a button there that's touch up your appearance, that makes you look a little bit younger. So I'm just going off and on with that at the moment, just to give you an understanding. That's touch up your appearance. I look a couple of years younger. You've also got the ability to do it without, which is the setting I always use. Again, totally up to you, but if you want to it's like a filter that you might use if you were running a, an Instagram photo or something. You also have the option of doing that with everything you film on Zoom, if that's of interest to you. The option you're looking for is called touch up your appearance. All right, when it comes to webinars, if you're interested in doing some training, if you're going to do some like nutrition consultation, if you're going to teach people about stress reduction, if you're going to give them tips to avoid lower back pain, if you're going to give them the 5 best ab exercises, whatever you want to teach about, I think one of the best features around webinars that you would consider using is the survey. It's called a poll or a survey. The reason I encourage you guys to get involved in this is to get interaction and to get feedback. So you might click on poll, you might go live during your Zoom webinar, and you might say, tell me guys, what was your favorite virtual training session last week? Was it A, boxing? Was it B, HIIT training? Or was it C, strength? And then you get the guys to all vote and actually give you some interaction. You might say in the following presentation that you do, you might say, hey, we'd love to get some feedback on how our trainers are going. Please vote for your very favorite trainer in their class last week. Was it A, Michelle? Was it B, Dave? Was it C, Mike? So I can pass on that feedback and let them know that you're doing a great job. Thank you. So if you're doing a webinar, my encouragement for you is to use a poll. When would you use a poll? You would do it either at the start or at the end, where they can actually stop and kind of interact very easily. It's helpful perhaps if you're waiting for people to log in. If you want more people to actually complete the poll, you'd obviously do it at the end before they log out. Where are we up to? I said I'd give you 10 hints and tips. Number 10, one of the ones that I've tried using a few times now as part of Gym Hub is the breakout rooms. The reason you might use breakout rooms for running a fitness business is if you wanted to do something with your staff around training, particularly effective when it comes to sales role plays. So let's say you've got a staff of 9. Instead of what I find is if you teach the phone inquiry and how to overcome objections for selling over the phone or something like that, you'll find if you ask one of your staff to get involved in a role play, they get a little bit self-conscious, they get a little bit nervous, and they don't always sort of get involved and provide, probably the best input that they can. So one of the ways you can encourage them to actually become more involved is to do a breakout room. So you could create 3 breakout rooms for a staff of 9. In each of those breakout rooms, you could have 3 people. One person's the staff member, one person plays the role of the client, and the other person plays the role as the assessor. And what you do is you say, guys, I'm going to teach you quickly how to basically jump on the phone. This is the script that you're going to use. And in a minute, you're going to go into your breakout room. So one person's going to play the role as the client, one person's going to play the role of the trainer, and the other one's going to give us feedback. When you go to breakout rooms, they can actually leave the breakout room and come back to the main meeting at any time. There's an option to leave the breakout room when they wish. Otherwise, there's a countdown timer on it. So I usually leave them in the breakout room for about 2 minutes. And I say, hey, I want you to have a bit of a role play. So you pretend like you're the client. You pretend like you're the trainer. And I want you to practice doing like a phone inquiry for me using this script. Now, when they come back into the room, everyone comes back in together. I say, all right, let's get some feedback. So in every breakout room, we had a group of 3, and there was one person in there that was the assessor. So Dave, you were the assessor in your group. I'd love to get some feedback. Tell me, what was something that Sarah did in your group as the trainer that was actually really good when pretending to be on the phone in the role play? And he'll give some feedback and stuff like that. And you go, okay, very good. And if you were really picky, what was something Sarah could do a little bit better if she was to, get even better on the phone next time? So what you're trying to do here is not only get people involved in role playing and practicing, but you also want them to be aware of what good and bad looks like. So having someone in the role of like, the client, I think enables them to sort of think about, well, what type of questions or what type of objections might they give in real life? Having someone in the role of the trainer, if you were doing a breakout room and sales role plays, gives them the chance to have a practice here and do as many stuff ups and stuff as they need to here, rather than doing it on the phone and wasting potential leads for you. And then having someone as the assessor, I think is just as important as actually having a go in the role play, because your ability to actually observe when someone else does it really well or when someone else can improve is also a skill of learning yourself and makes them better at the role play themselves. So number 10, if you haven't thought of it before, is the use of breakout rooms. I enjoy doing this one, particularly if I'm going to give the guys like a little project or something that they need to go away and test. How else could you do it? You might do like a team alignment session where you actually break the guys up into groups and you say, okay, your job as a group of 4 is to brainstorm for 2 minutes. How do we get more people to attend our virtual training classes? Great. Breakout room number 2, your focus is you've got 2 minutes and I want you to go away and brainstorm different ideas on how can we add more variety to our classes so that people are getting a great workout and not getting overuse injuries. Breakout room number or number 3. So that's how I would sort of use breakout rooms. A couple of little bonus ones, attendance and reports. So this one could be useful for you. So let's say you're doing like a live workout and you're interested in knowing who actually attended that. You can go into management and reports section. If you click on usage reports, if you click on meeting, you can then actually see who's been attending these workouts. You can see who's been attending these live webinars after they've actually been filmed. The only requirements you need in order to get these reports, you need to be either the host of the meeting or you need to be in a role that's been enabled where usage is enabled. So often I'll log in as like the host, but I will give Shine or someone else in my team the co-host role. So they have all the same access to reporting and all the access to like letting members into the meeting as I do. The other option, I guess you just need to check your Zoom plan. It has to be a paid plan, it has to be either pro, API partner, business or education plan for you to get reporting. But I'm interested to know if someone comes into our gym and does a group training class, I want to know who came. I want to check if we're actually getting increased attendance as we get better at it, and our team training would suggest that it's going to get better. Or is it actually getting less and less and less? Is there one staff member that's getting really low attendance compared to someone that's really good? If so, let's figure out what they're doing differently. Let's watch both of those classes and give them some feedback. But I think reporting can be really useful in that regard. What do you do if the internet's slow? I'm recording this today from my office in French's Forest. The reason I'm here is because the internet is better than it is at home. What I find is if you record these sessions and the internet's not great, when they play back the video, you'll see that sort of digital buffering sort of happening where the sound sort of cuts out and the video cuts out a little bit, and it can be a bit of a problem. The more people that actually get onto your call, the more internet that's actually being used. So if the internet's slow, my recommendations for you is potentially get off Wi-Fi and do it off your phone. If you're the only one using the data off your phone, sometimes that's actually going to be better than sharing Wi-Fi in a building, or sharing Wi-Fi if your kids are in another room or someone else is actually sharing the internet. Number two, just make sure you go somewhere that's got good internet. So if you're filming these from home, you might find one of your staff members got much faster internet than someone else, and as a result, the Zoom meeting is affected by it. Other things you can do to maximize your bandwidth is turn off the cameras of all the people that are actually logged in, or you can turn off your camera temporarily, or your co-host's camera temporarily if needed. My last little tip to finish on today is practice, practice, practice. So if you're only been using Zoom for a week and you've logged in and forgot to record, it's really normal. If you've logged in and you've had people that have logged in with a noisy background, or if you've struggled to actually get your screen as the main one, and instead you're looking at someone doing their own home workout and that becomes the main screen, this is really, really normal. But you have to actually practice it. My suggestion is don't practice it live in front of your members. Don't practice it live in front of like a webinar for the first time. Instead, set up a scheduled one. So today, 10 a.m., we had like a live meeting planned. If I wasn't confident using Zoom, I would get my wife at 8 a.m. to log in on the exact same link. So no one's logged in at 8 a.m. for a 10 a.m. meeting. So my wife, for example, can log in on a phone from a different room, and I can practice that she can hear me. I can practice actually sharing the screen, recording it. I can ask her, is this a better height for the camera? I can practice changing the backgrounds of the screen if I want to get a bit creative. I can give her the poll and say, these are the questions. Let's test and see if it works. But my suggestion is do your practice. If you're a professional sporting team, you wouldn't be practicing in the middle of the game. You would be practicing before the game. And that's what you need to do with Zoom as well. There's a few other ones. I'll just check. I think I've covered everything. So I've given you 10 plus a couple of little bonuses there. What I might do is give you a chance for questions now. Let me go into chat and see if we've got a couple of questions. All right, Element Fitness says, does Zoom record in 1080p? Whenever I download a video, it always says 720p. I don't think it does. Yeah, so I think you're correct, Rick. If that's you at Element Fitness that's logged in, I think it's recording a smaller file at 720. When I go to record it, or sorry, when I get a file as well, I notice the exact same thing. One of the things you can do is actually select to record in HD. When you select in HD, then the file will actually come out at 1080. It's up to you whether or not you actually want to do that. It's obviously a much bigger file. So in post-production, if you're trying to upload a 30-minute video onto a Google Drive or onto YouTube or something like that for your members, it's obviously going to be 25% larger. To move it around, and a little bit slower to sort of get it there. I'm finding at the moment the 720 is fine, but again, it might be worth testing, but you can, by default, it's going to go to 720. I'm using 720, but I know with certainty that you can actually choose to record. When you hit the record button, you can choose to record in HD if you want to get it in a higher resolution. Good question. David Flanagan, how do trainers start a meeting given only the host can start unless you buy a license for every trainer to co-host? How do trainers start a meeting given only the host can start unless you buy a license? So I think that's a setting one, David. I'll get my staff to post in the thread on Facebook with the video for this, how they get around that. The good news is you can get around it. So I'll give you an example. When I do a Tuesday meeting with my staff, anyone can start the meeting. So anyone that's been invited to it can actually start that. So I know we can get around it, but let me come back to you and find out. Sean Connor, the slideshow that you use for this meeting, is that through the screen share function? Yes. So I designed the slides on my MacBook using Keynote, and all I'm doing is sharing my screen. Yes, there is an option to sort of change the screen or stop screen share or turn screen share on. Sometimes, you know, if you plug in, like there's lots of cool stuff you can do. So if you plug in a USB cord and like an iPad, you might have remembered, like I can actually share my iPad and draw on stuff as well. So it can be quite useful if you're doing a webinar or something like that, as opposed to doing like a big whiteboard behind you and drawing on it. You can sit here and actually draw on your phone or draw on your iPad. The app that I use, if you want to sort of interact on it, rather than just sharing like a slideshow, if you want to share something that you're actually drawing on, I use Notability. It's a paid app, but it is easily the best. Another pretty cheap one's called Paper. I'd use Paper, but I moved to Notability because I found it better. When would that be useful? I guess if you, in the same way that you would teach off a whiteboard and just put something up or jot down like a brainstorm or something like that. Good question. Let me see if we've got any others. Roger, I don't have a HD option. Yeah, I'm not sure why that is, Roger. See if I can share my screen. No, I don't think it's going to let me. See, it might be because of my camera. I'm not sure if you guys can see that. I've got 1,000 things on my desktop, but when I go onto camera, when I go up to stop video at the top, one of my options is FaceTime HD camera. So I've got the option to do it. It might be because I'm actually, I've got a plug-in or a USB camera handy. Good questions. Let me check if there's any others. Cameron, I have having problems loading contacts into Zoom. Any tips? Don't load contacts into Zoom is my tip. Instead, just share the link. So anyone that you want to invite to virtual training or to a webinar, just give them the link. So they don't need a Zoom account. I always find if people are trying to log in and type in an ID and stuff, that it's really problematic. If instead via SMS or via email, they just get a link and they click on it, I think it's kind of idiot proof. So yeah, my suggestion is don't load contacts into Zoom, just send links. Some good questions here, guys. Just going to scroll up and see if we've got any others. All right, let me just check. Betsy Kirk, I'm going to unmute your, is it going to let me? Betsy, any questions regarding Zoom?
I just had a question in relation to David's question before.
Just speak up, buddy. We can't hear.
Hang on. I've got my headphones. Can you hear me now?
I can.
In relation to, just in follow-up to David's question before, this might be a bit of an ignorant question, but in what instances would a trainer need to start a meeting